And welcome back to DIY Willie. You know, with preparations for getting that Samurai running again, if you saw the last video where I took the fuel pump out and I sent the fuel pump off to Canada to be rebuilt, you know, we have that pump back now. We're ready to put it back. We also took down the gas tank and we cleaned out the gas tank. We got all that oily goo out of there. There was a lot. Got all the hoses off. I'm going to replace all the hoses with new hoses. I got the filter housing off. I cleaned it in the sonic cleaner, and I got a new fuel filter to go on. So what I need to do now before I go further is go ahead and seal that tank up and get it so that we avoid the moisture and possible rust getting inside. Further rust getting inside. It's actually very clean, but I don't want it to get rusty while we wait. I'm going to put the fuel pump back on before I do the tank. But let's get that tank sealed up. I got a new sending unit for it, and we'll go ahead and put that in now, and that will seal the tank up. I have a little tape over the fill neck, and well, that'll seal the tank up and keep moisture from getting inside there and dirt from getting inside there. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll get to that fuel pump. I've already got the new sending unit here. Here's the new one. It's ready to go. I put the wire on it already. Here's the old one. Now, don't get me wrong. The old one was working, but it's just pretty crusty. You know, it's ugly. It was working, however. It wasn't giving me false readings. But, well, it's just ugly, and I want a new one. So I went on the old jungle site, and I found this one. And came with a new gasket, and I did have to transfer the wire from this one to that one, but it's all ready to go in. And well, I got new hose clamps for the new filler hose. I got that too, but that's not part of this video yet. We'll go ahead and install this and get the tank sealed up. This goes in a specific way. It goes in like that. Now there's a tube from the fill that comes down inside the tank across this way to the pickup on this side. So this has got to go under that tube while keeping your alignment on these holes right here. So we'll just put it in like so, go straight down under the tube, and find the position where these will go sit down like that, and then clock your gasket and your holes. I'm going to use the screwdriver to kind of line it up like that. Now you see that all my holes are lined up, and this is the orientation because the rod goes this way underneath the tube that runs the fill tube, or not the fill tube, underneath the suction tube that goes right here. So there I have all the holes lined up. I've got my 5 screws that go in there. These are the original screws. The sending unit did not come with new screws. So we're just going to put them in, line them up, make sure they all get started before you crank them down. Now this is a rubber gasket underneath there, so I don't think it needs to be all that tight, but we'll get them as tight as we can by hand. Make sure you get the right size Phillips that fits these screws. You don't want to strip these screws out. Want to make it nice and tight in there. So we're just going to kind of run them down. I'm going to go in a crisscross pattern like that. Just to get them seated and get some pressure on that gasket. Now these were not tight when I took them off, but now that I got them all down, I'll go back over them again and get them seated a little bit more. I forgot to mention that I did clean that flange, make sure that flange was clean and flat before I put it in. There may be a torque specification on this, I don't know, but we're just going to get them in there tight. making care not to strip those out. We'll go around one more time. There. That's pretty tight. It's all in there. Should be good to go. The wire goes underneath here because it plugs into another wire back there by the license plate when it's in the car. We're ready for install. I've already got tape here on the end, sealing it up. And well, we're ready to go. Get the tank in. Here is the fuel housing. And I have a new filter that matches this housing. Right here. Ready to screw on and be installed. Just like that. Should have put the camera down, but there we go. That'll be ready to screw on and bolt on. The fuel system's near complete. Now, I still have the original filter. Let's take a look at that. This is the filter that came off of it. And look at that goo that's in there. That's what was in the tank. That stuff was getting all the way up to the pump and what caused my pump failure this time. You see that goo? This stuff is nasty. See that? See that? Nasty. It clogged up that filter and the pump and all the lines, which is why we decided to go ahead and change all the lines. The whole system is going to be clean and rid of that goo, whatever that is, whatever byproduct of diesel that is anyway. So yeah, now I got the pump ready. We'll take a look at that too. Now there's a couple things I need to do to the new rebuilt pump. I need to get the banjo fittings for the inlet and the banjo fittings for the return on the pump. Also, this fuel pump has, these pumps have a fuel cutoff switch built into the pump right here. And this switch did not come with the lead I needed to plug into my wiring harness into the car. So I had to come up with something. I didn't have the little blade that bolts on right there. I didn't even have the nut. I had to find the nut, and then I made a little pigtail with the blade on the end of it right here that I can just plug my wire into and provide power to the fuel cutoff switch. So this is pretty much ready to go in the car. The tank is ready to go in. The fuel filter is ready to go in. I have all the lines, fuel lines. So yeah, we need to get busy. All right, so today we're outside. We're putting the pump, the injection pump we got from Performance Diesel Injection back in the Samurai. I already started putting it in. I've got it kind of bolted in here with the first 3 bolts that go here on the front of the pump. Now I was going to put the pulley on. I seem to have lost the nut and washer that goes right here. That's a problem. I'm going to spend some time now looking for it. Hopefully I can find it, or I'm going to be looking at the store to get a new one. All right, let me see if I can find it. So I found that mysterious nut. It was actually inside the car. I'm glad I thought to put it in the tray of nuts and bolts that I have inside. I have all the nuts for the valve cover as well, all in that same tray. So I'm glad I found that. And I put the this one on up here that holds the cable for the throttle. The pump is somewhat timed where it needs to be in accordance with the timing marks that are built into the engine. And I've got the timing belt back on. If you remember, when I took it off, I put this lock on here to lock the crankshaft from turning. I did go ahead and take this off and verify timing before I put the belt on, and then I put the lock back on. So everything looks good. Now I need to, this is still loose so that I can adjust right here with this idler pulley, I guess you want to call it. I'll get the tension on the belt with that. You want about a 45 or so or 90-degree twist when you tighten it up. You don't want the belt too tight, or it puts a lot of stress on the pump shaft and you damage the seals along with the bearings and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of where my problem may have began with. So I've got this far today. I do have to go to work here in a few minutes, so I don't know if I'm gonna get much further, but it's hot out here today, and it's just crazy because in about 3 hours it's gonna be freezing. Really weird. Anyway, I've got the belt back on. I'm gonna adjust the tension on the belt, and then I can pull the locks out. I have the camshaft lock right there. That's this piece. I have the fuel pump lock right there, and then the crank lock down there. So once I have the timing belt all tensioned the way it should be, I can take all the locks off, and I can spin the engine around and slowly spin the engine around, make sure that nothing hits. Like the valves don't hit the top of the pistons, everything runs smoothly, and when I get it back around the top to the center, that all the alignment marks still line up, then that would be the timing correct. Then I can start hooking up the diesel lines to the injectors and all the hoses. So yeah, I'm gonna get going on that because my neighbor over here is gonna be doing some work on his house, and it's gonna get kind of loud, so we probably won't be able to do any filming. So I'm gonna get this belt done, and well, we might call it a day. Wow, continuing on, we have a lot of work done already. As I said, I'm not going to show a lot of this. I'm just doing it, and we'll show as the progress goes. So we have the timing done. We've got the fuel pump and the ignition timing for the fuel pump done. The injector lines are back on. The fuel lines are hooked up, the new ones. The belts are on. These are the new bolts down here. These are ARP bolts. They were 671 1006 for the crank pulley, and 61 or 671-1017 for the water pump pulley. And those worked out a lot better than the old worn out ones I had that were stripped, 6mm ones. Alternator belt, power steering belt, most everything is done. I have a new valve cover gasket up there, and I need to put that on. I'm not going to put the radiator back in right now. I'm going to try to start the engine first, but I got to do the gas tank, and the hoses in the back have got to be replaced. So I got that much work to do right now. For the engine compartment, we're done for now until we put the radiator back in. Then we'll change the oil filter, and possibly the fuel filter again. I don't know yet. I'm thinking about getting one of those clear filters that I can put in line with the fuel filter, and be able to see what it's catching, like a pre-filter before the main filter. Hopefully it won't have any problem running it like that. I hope so. That's my plan anyway. Other than that, we just need to get the tank in, get it all primed, get the fuel up here where it belongs, and charge the battery and try to start it. So we're not far off from doing that. It's going to take a little bit of time to get the tank in. Now, actually, all this work on the engine went extremely fast. I was really surprised that I nailed the timing first try. I was a little bit concerned about that. I don't think I've ever done that before, but I got it this time, first try, and the pump timing looks good. Yeah, everything looks good. This episode today, we're gonna put the gas tank back in the Samurai, get it all hooked up, got some new hoses to go in it, and well, get it back up under there, and hopefully we can get it started pretty soon. Once the tank's in, we can fill up with diesel, and then we can prime the pump up front, and then the injectors, and hopefully start the engine. So yeah, let's get that tank in, and I'll get this Samurai project finished. Okay, so I've got the tank back up. It's 2 bolted in. I got a bolt on each corner, and there's 4 bolts that go in total, but it's up in there. Now the next thing I need to do is make the connection with the fill hose, and that's that one right there, and it comes up into the inside right there. The little hose is right here. It connects right there, but I want to make that connection last. I'll try to get the big hose connection next. Now, the original fill hose, this one, is pretty crusty, dry. It's hard as a rock. It's not even pliable anymore. I'm sure it would probably fit to go back in there, but I'm afraid as much work as it took to get it off, that it might leak somewhere. might be cracked or leaked. So I went ahead on the old dongle side again and found a new one. It came with new clamps, so let's get that one put on, see if we can wrap this thing up. All right, check it out. That's all done now. The clamp that came with the hose didn't fit over the hose when it was on the fill nozzle there, so I had to use the clamp that came with the old hose, and that worked just fine. Got it hooked up on the bottom, got the clamp on nice and tight, got all 4 of the bolts in, hooked up the gas gauge. I'm gonna wrap some tape around this and put the license plate back on. Then I got to put the covers that cover this area up, put them here, and the one that goes on the wheel well side. So I'll get those covers on right now and we'll get back to this. There we go. There's the cover for the fuel hose on the outside, the rear well here. Got it all bolted back in, just 10mm bolts, 2 here and 1 up there. Went in pretty easy. That'll protect it from debris coming from the tire. This covers all the way in. That'll protect the fuel hose from anything that's moving around down here in the trunk or in the back cargo area. That'll protect the fuel hose and the hoses. I have my wiring running through there too for the speakers, but I mean, that's good there. Here is the part number for the hose I bought. I'll leave a link in the description for everything I got, as I do in all my videos. The radiator is hanging out back here. I'm not putting the radiator back in until I get the engine running. I don't want to have to pull it out again, drain it and pull it out again. I'll just run the engine for short times to for a short period of time when I do get it running, just so I can make sure the timing's right and have it all dialed in before I put the radiator back in. And I'm going to wash the radiator and flush it, wash it, clean it up before I put it back in as well. There's the old hose. I'll throw away this away now. I got to put my license plate back on, but I'm going to wait until I get the Samurai running again before I put my license plate and all that back in, because I may need to reach up inside there if there's a leak or something and tighten things up. So yeah, we're ready to start priming the system and getting diesel up there, trying to start this thing up. I think I'll put the battery on the charger for a little while, have a good charged battery, FedEx, and man, we're so close. We're so close to getting it going. I'm excited. All right, well, a continuation in the work on the Samurai. What we've got to do next, I want to put a pre-filter in line with the diesel filter I have, and well, I got to go pick one of those up. I also got a 2.5 gallon gas can that I need to fill up with diesel, fresh diesel, so I can put that in the tank. We know the tank is empty. Hopefully that's enough to get the whole system primed up and get it ready to start. All right, let's go get that filter and diesel. All right, we're at the local Chevron. We got 2.5 gallons of diesel right there. We're headed home. Also picked up the filter I wanted for the pre-filter. Now let's go home and put it all together. Okay, we've got the pre-filter installed and I'm ready to start priming it. I've already pulled the vacuum on it a little bit and got some of the fuel up, filled the filter already. You can check it out right now. There's the pre-filter, I'm calling it, before the filter. I want to be able to see any debris that comes into it here before it gets to the big filter. We've got the vacuum pump set up and we're just going to pull vacuum on the system and pull the fuel through. As you can see, going through. Now the loops trap air. It's not really the best thing, but we're getting a good steady flow of diesel fuel through there. And we'll just keep doing this a couple times until we stop getting air bubbles out of the pump. I'll let you know when I get done and we'll check it out. Battery's in. We've got the old switch here for the starter. What does Bicycle Garage call this? Lone Wolf 5000 or Lone Wolf 6000 or something? Well, I just call it my switch. So want to make sure it's spinning. I don't have the fuel on yet. I have to turn the key on for the fuel, but we just want it to spin for a little bit. I want to get some of that oil up into the engine. Pumping. What do we say we turn that fuel on and see if it'll fire over? I still need to open the injectors and bleed them off, but let's try to start it. All right, we still got the battery charger here doing its job. Putting some more juice in the battery. I've got all the injectors bled off already, or primed, or whatever you want to call it. I'll be straightforward. This isn't the first time I've attempted to start it. It started a little while ago, but it was really rough. Like there was possibly still some air in the lines. It didn't want to idle. It was really odd. But I've since tried to bleed it off a little bit more. Fuel in the fuel filter looks good. I don't see anything dirty coming up from the fuel lines, the hard lines they run back to the tank. I did my best to clean those out as well. Then no, the tank is clean, so that looks really good. What do you say we fire it up one more time? I don't have the radiator, so I can't let it run very long, but we should be good to go. Let's give it a try. Got to turn the fuel on. Grab the Lone Wolf here and give it a shot. There we go. Running really good. It's idling a little bit rough. I would prefer to have the idle up a little bit. I don't see any fuel leaks. Pretty loud. The diesel. Still smoking on the back. Needs a set of rings. What was that? Well, there you go. That fuel pump went in. Now, I would like it to idle a little bit higher, but Giles has the yellow paint on the idle screw, so he has it adjusted right where it needs to be. I would like it to be a little bit higher. I'm going to give him a call and see if I can do that without voiding the warranty. I mean, it's running fine, idling like this. It has puffs of blue smoke, but it needs rings. We know that, but at least it's starting, and it's starting really easy on its own. No starter fluid anymore. So, yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy. It'd be nice to have the Samurai back on the road again. So we still got a few things to do. We got to put the radiator, the cooling system back together. We got to refill it. I want to change the oil, and obviously we got to put more diesel in it, but we'll drive it down and put more diesel in it. Put the air cleaner back on it, and well, just get it back together. It's where it's safe to drive. I don't want to let it run too long right now because it does not have the radiator. Also, I have a new valve cover gasket we need to put on so that it doesn't leak. This particular engine anyway is notorious for leaking off of this corner over here. So I want to get the new valve cover on there with a little bit of silicone around the back and around the front up here to make sure it doesn't leak, because it does leak. But I mean, it's running. It sounds really good. I am going to give Giles a call and see if I can turn the idle up a little bit and see what he says. Other than that, I'll leave it alone. And well, a good successful DIYWILLY project. And well, give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and please leave a comment down below, good or bad, I don't care. Any suggestions for this little diesel, make it run better. When I change the oil, I plan on using Restore additive in there to help fill the problems with the cylinders and the piston rings. I know they need to be replaced, but I'm gonna try to fill in the gouges and stuff like that. So it's all going. And oops, my battery charger fell down again. Anyway, I'm going to end this video here, and we'll finish up the work on the Samurai another day. I got to go eat some lunch and get ready to go to work. but it's running and I'm happy, and I can't wait to drive it. All right, thank you. Bye.